What's up, friends? Welcome to my channel. If you're new, I am so happy you decided to join us today because today is going to be the very first video in my All About Custodial series. We're just going to jump right into this video because I have a feeling it might be a long one. So when you are a custodian at a Disney park, at least at Walt Disney World, you have the option of doing two different things on your shift. You'll either be working in restrooms or you'll be working on the streets. And I was planning on making the details about those into one video, but then I got to thinking about how long it would be. So we're actually going to split it up into two different videos, and today's going to be part one, and it's going to be all about restrooms. I know restrooms can seem like a really scary thing at first, you know, cleaning a public restroom doesn't always sound like the most fun thing in the world, but I promise you, I pinky swear, cross my heart, hope to die, that restrooms are seriously not that bad. In fact, if you were going to be working during the summer as a custodian, you're going to learn to love restrooms because you will be in a restroom your whole entire shift, plus you have a stock room, and about 90% of the time there's AC in both of those. So you don't have to be outside pushing a trash cart, you know, sweeping the ground when it's goodness knows what, how hot outside. You get to be inside a little bit cooler. I promise you, will learn to love restrooms. And if you are a little intimidated by the thought of having to clean a Disney park restroom, I really hope this video will kind of help relax you a little bit and show you that it's really not that bad. So again, I just want to remind you guys before we jump into the details about this video that I worked in Magic Kingdom. I was Magic Kingdom East, so I worked in Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. So everything that I'm going to talk about pertains to that specifically. I'm sure each park kind of does the same similar idea and how they clean the restroom, but the details might be a little bit different. So just keep that in mind, but this is kind of the general idea of what you're going to be doing in a restroom. When you are assigned a restroom shift, it'll be on your schedule. You'll know your restrooms. Every once in a while, if someone calls out and they were supposed to be in a restroom in your streets, they might pull you from streets to go cover that restroom. That happened to me quite often, but it will say that you are going to be in restrooms on your schedule. And when you're in restrooms, you are in that restroom all day, your whole shift. That is like your baby, your pride and joy for those 6, 7, 8, 9, 14 hours, whatever, however long you're going to be in there. For me, I actually really enjoyed restrooms. I know a lot of people didn't. They usually tend to be something you either loved or you hated. But for me, I didn't mind restrooms. Restrooms are nice when you might be kind of having a bad day or you're not really talkative. That's when restrooms become really nice because you can kind of keep to yourself, you know. People don't necessarily want to have a full-on conversation when they're in the restroom. They kind of come in there for one reason, not necessarily to have a conversation. So they're it's kind of nice for that reason. Like I said, it's also nice for the summers because you have the AC. Usually, restrooms are more relaxed than streets. Sometimes. I'm really putting an emphasis on that because there are a couple restrooms, at least in Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, that can get a little hectic. But for the most part, restrooms are a lot more relaxed than streets are. So what I would do when I was starting out my shift in a restroom is we have certain things that we have to look out for while we are cleaning the restroom. And I'm going to talk about each of those in the video. So the very first thing I would do is go in and I would pan and broom my restroom and check for any safety concerns, like if there's a spill on the floor or if there's a lot of trash on the floor, just little things that could cause any type of safety issue in the restroom. As I was checking for those safety concerns, I would make sure that my trash cans weren't overflowing. A lot of times, if a new bag had just been put in there, there's a lot of air at the bottom of the bag, so the trash builds up on top of that. So it might look super full, but if you get your broom or your pickers and you just shove those down in there, it usually pushes down and you will lose probably about half of the fullness of what it was. So do that before you freak out and think that it's overflowing or something. Just push it down real quick, make sure see if there's any room for it to get lower. The next thing I usually do is just double check the counters, make sure they're dry. If they're not dry, I would squeegee them down, dry them down. And as I'm doing that, I would check my paper towel supply, I'll check my soap supply and make sure all that's good to go. And then if needed, I would mop the floors and make sure they're as dry as I can get them to be. Keep in mind with sinks and with mopping, don't get frustrated when your sinks are never stay dry, when your floors never stay dry, because it will happen. It's really hard to keep your sinks and your floors dry because people are constantly coming in, washing their hands, shaking their hands off like this, reaching up for paper towels constantly. So they might be dry for total of 2 minutes and then you can't even tell again. So don't get frustrated. Know that it happens. So after I had done all that, I would go back to my stockroom, and usually the stockroom would have some type of cart that you can put all of your supplies in. So your toilet paper, your paper towels, your soaps, your towels, your cleaning chemicals, your gloves, you know, all the general things you're gonna need to actually clean the restroom. So I'd go in and I would stock the cart full of everything that I would need. Once I had my cart all ready to go, I would take it into the restroom and just start on one end of the restroom and go from every single stall and make sure they were as clean as they can possibly be. So when it comes to cleaning the inside of the stall, the things that you really need to make sure you're doing, you're checking your toilet paper supply and making sure your seat covers are all good and stocked up as well. Another thing you'll be doing is making sure the toilet seat itself is clean. This is where it can get a little gross and not so fun to be in the restrooms. You know, sometimes you have a kid who doesn't necessarily have the best aim, or a child that can't really hold it those 5 extra steps to the toilet seat. You know, it happens. You know, you're in a theme park with lots of children. It does happen. I'm not going to lie to you and say that you're never going to have to clean up any type of potty spills on the ground. It will happen, and it will be gross at first, super gross at first, but honestly, after you're there for a couple weeks, couple months, it kind of just becomes like second nature, and you really don't even think about it. At least I didn't. It really is not a big deal after a while, I promise. There is something, you'll just get your rag and your chemical, wipe it down, make sure everything's clean, and sanitize. Sanitizing is a really big thing. You'll learn all about that in your training. Now, the one thing I really disliked about doing restrooms was having to do sandy bags. Sandy bags were my least favorite thing, I think, about my whole entire job as being a custodian. It wasn't cleaning up code V's. It wasn't cleaning up any type of potty spillage. It was sandy bags. The bags themselves are tiny. The knots are kind of hard to tie. And then when you get a restroom like the Tangled restrooms in Fantasyland that has, I think, like 30 stalls in it or something like that. That's 30 little bags plus some that you're having to tie and stick in there, and it just gets tedious and annoying, and yes, that is the one thing I disliked about my whole entire job. Once you've checked all that, make sure your sandy bag's empty, make sure everything's stocked, and just move on to the next stall, and you keep on going down the row until you reach the end of the restroom. You do that at the very beginning of your shift, and you set yourself up that way, making sure everything's stocked, overstocked, extra bags in all your trash cans. Your night will probably be a breeze. You just gotta set yourself up for success when it comes to the restroom, and honestly, you'll be fine. They're not that stressful. You asked, Tiffany, what if I cleaned up my restroom and it's spotless and it's not really busy and there isn't much to do? What am I supposed to do with my time? That is a great question. I'm so glad you asked. A big thing you can do is just go right outside your restroom, stay in that area right outside your restroom, and help the people outside, panning and brooming, checking for any spills, you know, stuff like that. Kind of keeping the outside of your restroom clean as well. Now, I do want to emphasize that even though I really like restrooms and they're really not scary, for the most part they're not stressful, but they can be. Restrooms will be very busy, where there's constantly a line out the door. You feel like you're running around with the chicken with its head cut off, and you know, you don't feel like you can ever get in there and clean the stall. But don't worry if my very first restroom shift, I started out that way, and I had one of the busiest restrooms, and I did not like restrooms at first. But then I got some of the restrooms that were more slow and the easier ones to do, and I really love restrooms. Like I said, people either love them or they hate them. I've never really met anyone who's kind of like indifferent about them. For me, I went through phases. If I had restrooms for like 2 weeks in a row, then I kind of started to dislike them, and I wanted to be out and guest interaction. But the same thing, if I was out doing streets for like 2 weeks in a row, then I really just wanted to have restrooms because I missed them. Well, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a giant thumbs up. If you have any questions about the custodial role, whether it be out restrooms, streets, costumes, scheduling, whatever you can think of, leave them down below, because I will be doing a Q&A video as a part of the All About Custodial series I'm doing. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Subscribe. That box down there is red. Make sure you change it to gray, and don't forget to hit the notifications button right next to it so you get notified when I'm posting videos. I have a lot of exciting things coming up, and I really don't want you guys to miss out. I really hope this video helped you guys out and to not be so stressed out when it comes to restrooms. Because like I said, I promise you they can be a lot of fun. Have a magical week, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!